Okay, so you're prepping for an oilseed presser interview, and we are going deep into RoleCatcher's guides to help you totally nail it. We'll cover some of those tough questions you might get hit with. Plus, sprinkle in some career insights to get your confidence up. And we'll even show you how RoleCatcher's AI can give you a real edge.
Being prepared and knowing what to expect is really key.
Couldn't agree more. So first things first, let's break down what an oilseed presser actually does.
Well, think of powerful hydraulic presses, the kind that extract those valuable oils from seeds, like soybeans and sunflowers.
Okay, I get that. And then those oils are used in a lot of things, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, you see them everywhere. Cooking oils, biofuels, even cosmetics.
Wow, that's a lot more diverse than I thought. So what about the work environment?
It's definitely hands-on and usually in a manufacturing setting, so you need to be comfortable working around machinery. And being a team player is huge.
Got it. So let's say you've gotten an interview. What kind of questions should someone be ready for?
Well, there's one that comes up a lot. What inspired you to pursue a career as an oilseed presser?
That seems pretty straightforward. But I'm guessing there's more to it than meets the eye.
Absolutely. You really want to show that you have a genuine interest. Don't fall into the trap of giving a generic answer, like just saying you like working with machines. Dig a little deeper. Talk about what specifically attracted you to this industry.
Okay, so maybe talk about being passionate about sustainable agriculture. Or maybe you're just fascinated by how the oil extraction process works.
Exactly. You want to show that you've put some thought into this career path, that you're not just applying randomly.
I see, so it's all about going a little deeper.
Right. And you might even get a follow-up question like, what aspects of oilseed processing do you find most fascinating? This is where you can let your enthusiasm shine through.
Makes sense. So moving on to another question, what about how do you ensure the quality of the oilseeds you process?
This is where you demonstrate your knowledge of quality control. Think about specific steps you would take, like inspecting those seeds for any damage or contamination.
Right, so making sure there's nothing that shouldn't be there.
Exactly. And don't forget to mention any internal standards and any external industry regulations you'd be following.
So talking about things like checking moisture levels,
Yeah.
making sure they're stored properly, things like that.
Exactly. And be ready for a follow-up question like, can you describe a time you had to deal with a quality issue?
Okay, so a real-life example.
Right. You'd walk them through what happened, how you used your problem-solving skills to fix it, and how you made sure everything turned out okay in the end.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, let's get a bit more technical. How about a question like, how do you maintain and operate oilseed processing equipment?
This is your time to shine. Talk about your technical skills and experience.
I see.
Describe the specific equipment you've used, the maintenance procedures you follow, and really highlight how important safety is to you.
Right. Safety first.
You can even mention any certifications or training you have.
So if I have experience with hydraulic presses, I definitely mention that, as well as things like cleaning procedures and preventative maintenance routines.
Exactly. And they might even follow up with something like, have you ever had to troubleshoot a press that wasn't working properly? What did you do? They want to know how you handle those unexpected situations.
That's a great point. So it's not just about knowing the routine. It's about thinking on your feet when things go wrong.
You got it.
Now, everyone makes mistakes at some point, right?
Yeah.
So how should you handle a question like, have you ever run into a problem during the oilseed processing process? If so, how did you handle it?
It's all about being honest and showing that you learn from your mistakes.
Okay.
Pick a specific example where something didn't go quite right. Explain how you figured out what the problem was, the steps you took to fix it, and most importantly, what you learned from that experience.
So you're showing that you can take responsibility
Yeah.
and that you can problem solve and grow from your mistakes.
Exactly. And don't be surprised if they follow up with, what did you learn from that experience? It just reinforces that you're committed to constantly improving.
Really helpful advice. Now, I know RoleCatcher's AI can be a game changer for interview prep. Can you tell us a bit more about how that works?
Of course. RoleCatcher's AI can analyze job descriptions, and it helps you tailor your CV and cover letter to really highlight those keywords and skills that employers are looking for.
So it's kind of like having a personal career coach,
You could say that.
helping you put your best foot forward.
Exactly. And their AI-powered interview practice tool is incredibly helpful. You can practice answering those common interview questions and get feedback that's tailored to the oilseed presser role.
Wow, that sounds like a great way to build confidence and polish your answers.
It really is. The AI analyzes your responses and points out areas where you could improve, like making your answers clearer and more concise, and just having a stronger overall impact. It's almost like having a mock interview, but with expert feedback from AI.
Okay, let's get back to some more of those potential interview questions. What about questions about the different types of oil pressing techniques?
Yeah, those are important too. For example, you might get asked about the difference between cold-pressed and hot-pressed oil.
Oh yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. What are some of the key points I should cover if that comes up?
You want to show that you understand both processes. Explain that cold-pressed oil is extracted without any heat, which means more nutrients and flavor are preserved. But with hot-pressed oil, heat is used, which leads to a higher yield. But it can impact the flavor and nutritional value.
So it's a trade-off.
Exactly. And be prepared to give some examples of when you might use each type of oil. Like cold-pressed olive oil is popular for salad dressings because of its flavor, while hot-pressed canola oil is often used for cooking at high heat.
That makes sense. Now, what about organic versus non-organic oil seeds? Is that something I should be ready to talk about?
Absolutely. You might get asked about your experience working with organic oil seeds and the differences between processing them and non-organic ones.
So this is where I talk about any experience I have with organic practices and certifications.
Exactly. If you've worked with organic oil seeds, definitely highlight that. Talk about the procedures you follow to meet organic standards, like avoiding synthetic pesticides and fertilizers.
Okay, but what if I haven't worked directly with organic oil seeds?
Even if you don't have that direct experience, you can still show that you understand the general principles of organic farming and how they apply to oilseed processing. You could even talk about the benefits of organic oil, like the higher nutritional value.
That's great advice. It's all about showing that I'm knowledgeable and adaptable, even if I haven't done everything.
But we have a lot more to cover. So let's move on to part 2 of our deep dive into those oilseed presser interview questions.
Okay, so let's jump back into those potential interview questions. Another technical one you might get is about the different extraction methods. Mechanical versus solvent extraction?
Oh yeah, I'm actually not that familiar with those. What are the main differences I should be ready to explain? Think of it this way. Mechanical extraction is like physically squeezing the oil out using pressure. While solvent extraction uses chemicals to dissolve the oil from the seeds, they both have their pluses and minuses. And the interviewer wants to know you get that.
Okay, so if they ask me about this, what should I focus on?
I'd highlight the pros and cons of each method. Mechanical extraction, especially cold pressing, is often seen as more natural, and you get a higher quality oil, but the downside is that the yield might be lower. With solvent extraction, you can extract more oil, but there's always that concern about chemical residues.
So it's like a balancing act between quality and efficiency.
Exactly.
Is there anything else I should mention about these methods?
You could also talk about which oils are best suited for each method. Like delicate oils such as olive oil are often cold pressed to preserve that flavor, while solvent extraction might be used for oils that are going to be used in industrial settings.
Makes sense. It's all about showing the interviewer that I understand those finer details of oil extraction. Now, safety and regulations are obviously a huge deal in any manufacturing environment. What kind of questions might come up around that?
Well, you might be asked something like, how do you ensure compliance with industry regulations and standards? This is your chance to really show your commitment to safety and quality control.
Okay, so I could talk about my experience with implementing safety protocols, conducting equipment inspections,
Yeah.
and following standard operating procedures.
Exactly. But be specific. Talk about things like wearing the proper PPE, regularly checking those pressure gauges, documenting your maintenance work, and staying up to date on all the latest safety guidelines.
And I could even mention any safety training I've had or any certifications I hold.
Absolutely. It shows you're proactive about safety and that you take it seriously. Oh, and don't be surprised if they throw in a scenario-based question, like, have you ever had to report a safety violation? What did you do?
Okay, yeah, that's a good one to be prepared for. What's the best way to handle a question like that?
Just be honest and transparent. Explain what happened, what steps you took, and what the outcome was. Really emphasize that you always put safety first and that you follow the proper procedures.
So it's about showing integrity and a commitment to doing the right thing.
Exactly. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about a question that focuses on improving things. You might get asked something like, can you describe a time when you implemented process improvements in your role?
Oh, I like those kinds of questions. It's a chance to show some initiative.
It is. Think of a time when you saw an opportunity to make things better, maybe streamlining a process, reducing waste, or just making things more efficient. Then walk them through your thinking, the steps you took, and the positive impact it had.
So, for example, I could talk about a time when I noticed a bottleneck in the production line, and then I came up with a solution to improve the flow.
Perfect. And be ready for follow-up questions like what challenges did you face or how did you measure the success of your improvements?
Yeah.
You always want to back things up with numbers if you can.
It's about showing that you can not only identify problems, but you can actually solve them and make a difference.
Exactly. Now, these are just a few examples of what you might be asked, but RoleCatcher has this incredible library of over 120,000 practice interview questions, and they're categorized by career and skill.
Wow, 120,000. That's a lot. So I could find ones that are specifically for the oilseed presser role.
You got it. And the best part is their AI-powered tool gives you feedback on your answers.
So I can practice and really refine my responses.
Exactly. You can even record yourself answering the questions and get AI-driven feedback on how you did.
That's amazing. It's like having a virtual interview coach.
It really is.
Okay.
Now let's move beyond the specific interview questions for a second and talk about some broader career insights that can really help you stand out.
Okay, sounds good.
So,
I'd love to hear more about the career path for an oilseed presser.
it's helpful to understand the different stages of a typical career in this field. You usually start out at the entry level, where you're really focused on learning the basics, mastering those hydraulic presses, monitoring production, ensuring quality control, and working closely with those experienced operators.
So it's all about getting that solid foundation.
Exactly.
And what are some of the typical things you'd be doing at that level?
Well, you'd be operating those presses to extract the oil, monitoring and adjusting the machine settings, performing routine maintenance and cleaning, and inspecting the oilseed samples to make sure the quality is up to par.
So it's very hands-on.
It is.
What happens once you've got some experience under your belt?
Then you can move up to junior oilseed presser. That's where you start taking on more responsibility and working more independently. You might be troubleshooting equipment malfunctions, working with your team to optimize production, and keeping track of all that production data.
So you're not just operating the machines anymore. You're starting to get more involved in the whole production process.
Exactly. You're developing those problem-solving skills, your teamwork skills, and a much deeper understanding of how everything fits together.
Okay, that makes sense.
And with more learning and experience, where can you go from there?
Well, that's where you can progress to senior oilseed presser.
Right. That's where you become a leader and a mentor. You're overseeing how the presses are operated, developing those production strategies, and even training those junior pressers.
That sounds like a pretty rewarding role.
It is.
So you're shaping the future of the whole operation.
Exactly.
But I imagine the industry itself is always changing too. What are some of the big trends that are affecting oilseed pressers?
You're right. The industry is constantly evolving. And one of the biggest trends is definitely automation.
I can see how that would have a big impact. What does that mean for someone who wants to be an oilseed presser?
It means embracing technology and becoming really comfortable working with automated systems and computer controls. A lot of modern oilseed processing plants are highly automated. So understanding how those systems work is essential.
So it's not just about operating the machines, it's about understanding how they're programmed and controlled.
Exactly. And it also means being adaptable and willing to learn those new technologies as they come along.
So continuous learning is more important than ever.
Absolutely. Another key trend is the increasing focus on sustainability.
Yeah, we're seeing that everywhere. How's that impacting oilseed processing?
Well, consumers are demanding more sustainable products, and companies are responding by putting those eco-friendly practices in place. For oilseed pressers, it means understanding the principles of sustainable agriculture and processing. It might involve working with organic oilseeds, reducing water and energy use, minimizing waste, and even exploring different extraction methods that are more environmentally friendly.
Those are definitely important considerations.
They are, and those who are committed to sustainability will be in high demand.
This brings up an interesting question for our listeners. With all this automation happening, what skills do you think will be most valuable for oilseed pressers in the future?
That's a great question to think about. The world of work is changing so fast, and being able to adapt is essential. But one thing's for sure, the demand for skilled oilseed pressers is going to stay strong. It's such a vital role in a growing industry, and those with the right knowledge, skills, and attitude will have lots of opportunities.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI tools can help you stay ahead of the game. Their career compass can help you figure out which skills are most in demand, and it can suggest training or courses to boost your skill set.
It's like having your own personal career advisor.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground today, from those tough interview questions to those big trends shaping the future. But before we wrap up, I want to go back to RoleCatcher's AI-powered tools and how they can give you that extra edge.
Let's start with their CV resume builder. It's not just a template. It uses AI to analyze those job descriptions and helps you tailor your CV to highlight those key skills and experiences.
So it takes the guesswork out of tailoring my application.
Exactly. It helps you avoid those generic resumes that just get lost in the shuffle.
Speaking of standing out, what about RoleCatcher's Get Discovered feature?
Oh, that's a game changer. It lets employers search for candidates based on their skills and experience. So if you opt in, employers who are looking for someone just like you can actually find you and reach out directly.
Wow, that takes networking to a whole new level.
It does. It's a really proactive way to connect with employers.
And of course, we've already talked about those interview prep tools.
With that huge library of practice questions and the AI feedback.
It's really everything you need to succeed in your job search.
Yeah,
From your resume to acing that interview.
absolutely.
This deep dive has been so helpful. I feel way more prepared to handle those oilseed presser questions.
It's a dynamic field with a lot of opportunity. Just remember, preparation is key. Do your research, practice your answers, and let your passion and skills shine through.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher is there to help you every step of the way. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive. We hope you found it useful. As you get ready for your interview and start your career journey,
Best of luck.
it sounds like they've really thought of everything to help people get ready.
They really have. And for aspiring oilseed pressers, their Career Compass tool can be a huge help. It can help you map out your career path and understand those skills and experience you'll need at each level, from entry level all the way up to those senior positions.
So it's not just about getting that first job, it's about planning for the long term.
Exactly. RoleCatcher's tools really give you the power to take control of your career and make those smart decisions about your development.
I love that. It's like having a roadmap to success.
It is, and as you start down that path, remember to stay curious, embrace those new technologies, and never stop learning. The industry is always evolving, and those who can adapt and who want to grow will definitely succeed.
This deep dive has been so insightful. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of how important the oilseed presser role is.
It's a vital role in a really interesting industry, and with the right preparation and resources, like those from RoleCatcher, you can definitely build a rewarding career in this field.
Absolutely. So to wrap things up, what's your final piece of advice for those getting ready for their interview?
Showcase that passion, highlight your skills, and show them that you're committed to safety, quality, and continuous learning. And remember, RoleCatcher's there to support you.
Well said. And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it informative and inspiring.
Best of luck with your interview.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.